Following our high poly series, we're going to be focusing on the low poly now. And this is important because this is what's actually going to be shown in the game. So basic goal of this is to create a shell that will house the high poly in it, and that we can take the details and break them down from the high poly to the low poly, while keeping a nice lower polygon count that will be reasonable within our game budgets, and still maintaining the detail that we really want. So quickly blocking out just basically a box that's going to surround the high poly here, and I'll start to go in and start cutting up the details and basically fit in this box to form a cage around the high poly. And so I mean, this stage it's different with every model you do, so you'll get quicker with it. And one thing to think of here is still, how are you going to lay your UVs out, because it will matter later on when you're actually to that stage, how you modeled everything and how everything came together. So you can see I'm already getting the basic shapes down pretty quickly, the basic form of everything, and the video is sped up a little bit, but this is a pretty quick process. This is a pretty simple prop in terms of the design and shapes of things, so it definitely helps. Once you get into more complex things, it's going to be a lot harder to quickly turn around stuff, but still, once you start doing this more often, you'll be able to model a lot faster, and the turnaround times will definitely start shrinking. So you can see I keep checking it, make sure everything's housed inside, and I'm not missing anything here in terms of details or shapes or anything. So I obviously jumped ahead a little bit here, but this is basically what we're shooting for. It's not totally optimized yet. It's still got some optimization I could do on it and lower the polygon count. It's below my original budget already. I set a personal goal of 1,500 triangles for this. Figured it would be used in a first-person shooter game, so I want to keep kind of details up a little bit, so when it's up close on the camera and on the screen, details hold up and things don't start getting washed out or start getting really blocky and jagged. So you never want any of that stuff. So alright, so basically what I'm doing here is I've taken parts from the high poly model and copied them, and I'm just going to go in and modify these and just optimize these a little bit and get them to follow the high poly. And since they'll be lower poly than the high poly models were, I'll be able to use these as my static mesh. Just a little bit of optimization in there, and you can see how it's hugging the same surface, and it's basically the same thing with a lot less geometry. So we'll go ahead and add that to this, and notice I always keep naming everything, so everything's really nice and neat and tidy. In game development, a lot of people will touch your files, and you could be working on this, and 2-3 weeks down the road somebody else has got to mess with it, or an animator or a rigger's got to touch it, and it's a lot easier for them to go in and have stuff named correctly instead of finding things with box 01 through box 49 and having to click through each one to figure out what goes to what. So keep your files clean, and if your company has naming conventions for the project and stuff, follow them, because it saves people a lot of time in the end. And there's nothing more frustrating than open up a file to do some quick fixes, and it takes you forever just to figure out what's going on. So I mean, that's a personal pet peeve of mine, but that's something to always be aware of. And so it looks like we got the half of our low poly done, and we only have to really model half because we're going to use the symmetry modifier on this as well. And I'm actually going to wait until I do my UVs for this to add the symmetry back, because it'll save us a lot of time. So up next we'll be unwrapping this and getting it prepared for baking textures out.